I always appreciate meetings here because I'm familiar with the system. I do too.
Oh yeah, that's right. We get to be in our normal room today.
Yes. Okay, I think we're ready.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Just to figure out where we end up in later this spring.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Robert was just observing how when we move out for the city hall seismic retrofit, we'll be at another location for maybe approximately 18 months or so, I think is the estimate. So it'll be interesting to see how our meeting systems work.
Yeah, that will be interesting. Okay, so kicking us off, this is the Salem Human Rights Commission's Process Task Force. We're gonna start with introductions on Zoom and then jump into the room. Oh, and it is October 15th and it's 5:17 p.m. Okay, I am Ilana Lynn. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the chair of this task force and a member of the commission. Kelsey.
Hello, I am Kelsey Murray, and I use she, her pronouns, and I am the vice chair of the Human Rights Commission and a member of this task force. Robert.
Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Marshall. I use he, him pronouns. I live in Ward 2. I am a commissioner on the Human Rights Commission, a member of this task force, and I will kick it off to Gretchen.
Gretchen Bennett, staff liaison, and she, her pronouns.
Okay, perfect. So we do have a smaller group today, so the discussion, we might want to save some of it for when we have a bigger group, but moving on with the agenda, public comment. Did we receive any?
None received.
Okay, and I don't see anyone in the room, but assuming there's no one to give public comment.
Yeah, no one else here.
Great. Okay. Consent calendar. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda and minutes?
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I second that.
Perfect. Okay, all in favor, give a thumbs up, say aye.
Hi.
Great, unanimous consent. Moving on, review of draft procedures. So we last left off with the procedures that Kelsey had wonderfully drafted. Let's see. Where did we leave off exactly? Name and place cards, guideline on Zoom. We didn't go over the Zoom, right? That's where we left off. The
Um,
conventions.
I think. Mm,
I I thought it was just before the 6 and 7 on page
Okay.
2, because I remember going in and offering some edits in the Google document to that effect.
yes, you are correct, Gretchen.
Perfect. Thank you for the group thought on that. Okay, great. So let's just go back through and start at 1 just to make sure that we, you know, remember what we're talking about. So sign up per should we screen share, by the way? Sorry. Or are you guys okay in the room?
I would appreciate screen sharing. I do not have a hard copy of the document.
I can,
Oh, you got it, Gretchen?
if you've got it already open, it'd probably be quicker because I need to go open it. But if you don't have it open, I can go find it.
Let's see.
Thank you.
You're able to make that bigger?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I totally can't. No, I
We're-
can't.
She's teasing you.
Is that good or more?
That's fine. We can make that work. We don't know. That's perfect right there. It's lovely.
Okay, perfect. So for sign up procedures, individuals wishing to speak must sign up before the meeting begins or during a designated sign up period. When possible, the chair may provide a sign up sheet or online registration. Seems good. I think we workshopped that one already. Any comments though before we? Cool. Okay, number 2, order of speaking. Speakers will be called upon in the order they sign up for or on a first come, first served basis. If a specific time is allocated for public comments, speakers will be called upon during that time frame. Also, pretty standard run of procedure. Any comments? Okay. Monitoring, Zoom features will be done through hand raises. We discussed that Zoom tracks the order of people while they raise their hands, so that should keep track of that. And then in person, then Zoom, if that's what we choose. Online commissioner will take speakers. Oh yeah, so this is
Yep.
where we had a debate about how we should prioritize in person versus virtual public comment. With more time to think on it, I think that that's something that the entire commission should decide, not just us probably. So that should be a question that we bring to them if y'all agree.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. We can draft up a couple of options, either in person then Zoom or
Mm-hmm.
real time.
Yeah, I would say it's either we start with in person, then we do Zoom. We start with Zoom, then we do in person, or we pick a number and go back and forth. So like 3 people in person, then 3 people on Zoom. Do those seem like all of the options?
I might misremember this, but I feel like when we had talked about doing a couple people on Zoom, a couple people in person, that might get confusing for the chair, but I might be misremembering.
We did discuss that it could be confusing, but I still think it's worth asking because I think it's the most equitable way to do it. But it is more of a burden on the chair to manage. So that's why I think that it's like an option that we give and see how people feel. But if you feel that we shouldn't offer it, I'm happy to hear that argument. Or not argument, but like opinion.
I have
Gretchen
a
and Suzanne.
question or a suggestion, hearing the observation about it being the most equitable, I wonder if it would be about identifying an extra resource. Maybe you'd have a commissioner who would step into the role of managing waitlist, and their focus would be the balancing of the three, and then that way the chair doesn't have to also do all of the other chair roles and do that.
So planning section chief. Right?
Yeah, like, you know,
Yeah.
you have someone in charge of just that.
Yeah, I think that's a great addition and will definitely help with the burden.
Cool.
Well, thumbs up from Kelsey.
I can draft kind of an option.
Love that. And is that something that we want to share at the next HRC meeting? Is it something we could email out and just like ask people to respond individually to Gretchen, or should we wait for a meeting?
I would say we work through this entire document and then we place kind of the questions that we have, like after we've gotten all the way through it, we, present, hey, this is what we've come up with so far. This is where we would like your input on the rest of it. We then incorporate that, then we bring back the final document to the HRC and then we ask for their blessing and then bam, we're rocking and rolling.
Cool, sounds good. Okay. So then moving on to format, after being called on, individuals will introduce themselves with their first and last names. While given public comment, members of the public will address the commissioners and not the audience. Any notes or edits? Okay. Time limit. Each member of the public is allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to speak and may only provide 1 comment per public comment portion or a special meeting topic. The chair may adjust this time limit as necessary, depending on the numbers of speakers and the agenda. Okay, I'm just gonna keep moving, and if you want me to go back, let me know. Relevance, comments must be relevant to the agenda items or the specific topic of the meeting. The chair may rule off-topic comments out of order. Okay. Respect and decorum, please make comments respectfully and without personal attacks. Disruptive behavior, including shouting, interruptions, will not be tolerated. Speakers who do not comply with these guidelines may be asked to leave. So just tracking the edits is Gretchen suggested removing or derogatory remarks, and all comments must be made. Is the all comments must be made just because we can't tell people what to say in public comment, so it has to be a suggestion?
That's my concern is, recognizing the balance of what we're trying to achieve with the freedom of speech rules.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thinking about that policy.
What if we just put, like, because I don't know, I get hemmed up on kind of the phrasing, please make comments. What if we just put comments should be respectful?
Sure, I'm comfortable with that too.
It works for me. And then or derogatory remarks, was there a specific reason for wanting to remove that?
I wasn't sure if we could actually follow through.
Mm,
A derogatory remark is arguably protected under freedom of speech if it's made calmly in a public comment period without disruption of the meeting proceeding.
mm-hmm.
So I worried we couldn't actually do it. I don't know. It's debatable, and if we can, I just don't, it would potentially set us up for risk or lawsuit based on First Amendment.
Yeah, I would agree. I also think we kind of address people not making derogatory remarks when we say comments should be respectful and without personal attacks. I've never heard a derogatory remark that was respectful or without a personal attack towards somebody or a group of individuals.
Cool. Yeah, I agree. Any other edits or comments to this section?
Grammarly's just trying to figure out what's going on here.
Yeah, I run the same struggle bus, but I do enjoy it. I usually just turn off Grammarly in documents and then I just copy things into the actual program and then copy them back. But
Yeah, I'm fine with not taking their suggestions.
Yeah. Sometimes the robots aren't, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No rebuttals. Speakers are asked not to engage in direct rebuttals or arguments with other speakers or meeting participants. The chair will address any need or clarification for or response. Assuming that once again, we're not allowed to tell people what to do, so asked not to. I think that makes sense. Do we have any other comments?
oh, I like Grammarly's suggestion there.
Yeah.
Want to sound more positive? Okay.
Thanks, Grammarly. Discretion of the chair. The chair has the authority to enforce these rules, including the right to extend or limit speaking time and to ensure the orderly conduct of the meeting. The chair's decisions on matters of the order are final. I think that's fair. Okay, naming conventions. Template guideline for name placards while in person. Staff is responsible for creating, printing, and distributing name placards for each commissioner and regular staff liaison. Each placard should be printed on a durable material such as cardstock to make it freestanding. The font should be a clean professional font such as Arial, Helvetica. I've never actually had to say that out loud. Or Times New Roman, and large enough to be easily read from a reasonable distance. Should we add a font minimum? Like what is that, 24?
Yeah, I was gonna say we should we should probably dictate what the font size is, and then that way we wouldn't have to, probably be easier to define the font size we want to use versus what a reasonable distance.
Mm-hmm.
Let me
Because a reasonable
see.
distance could vary depending on somebody's vision.
Yeah.
I'm looking to see if there's like a best practices for text size for readability.
I'm just messing around in the document, don't mind me. Because I'm thinking something that fills up like a whole 8-inch space, which is what this page would hypothetically be, would be fair. Not that I have the longest name. So like something around 70s would be my suggestion.
Kelsey, I'm appreciating you. You're taking the notes in the document and that's giving me light work. Thank you.
Ilana is
Oh, Alana is. Thank you both.
crushing it.
We
Um,
use, sorry, Kelsey, go ahead.
no, Kira, what's up?
I was just gonna say we use like size 72 for our board, and you can see it all the way across the room. So I think 70, 72 is great.
Perfect, I like that, 70 to 72 point font.
Nice. Also, welcome, Kira. I'm not sure when you joined us.
I'm sorry, I may have to dip out a little early. I'm still at work, but I'm here.
No worries. We appreciate you being here. Okay, cool. Example. Yep, looks good. Title of commission and current meeting, include your role. If you have a different role, at the committee task force meetings, update your name to reflect that change. Okay, so do we want the placards to just like say like commissioner name pronouns, and then in like Zoom you could say if you have another thing, like do we want to change it for every single meeting to have like chair, vice chair, so forth?
Yes, that was my bad. I should have had the 1, 2, and 3. Hold on. No, never mind. Never mind.
Hmm. Okay, so just for Zoom it would change, but the placards would just say commissioner name pronouns if they
Well,
want.
what are people's thoughts? Like, let's take Joaquin, for example. Would you want Joaquin during HRC meetings to have commissioner? And then for the community engagement committee, like committee chair?
So I was just thinking through this, what if we just, so we're not printing off a bunch of papers and, different name badges, and because, committees can stand up and, dissolve at almost any time. What if we just had, commissioner, name, and then we just had two blank, like just kind of just standard chair and vice chair. So if they're, sitting, like the chair seat, like it would just be like a small placard, they sit next to their name placard. So it still recognizes that person's a chair, but then that same chair, like little placard thing can be handed off to the next person and like be used for a different person at a different committee meeting that might be sitting that seat. So we're not creating a bunch of nameplates. We just have, everybody just has their standard nameplate, and then they just plop a chair / vice chair in front of their name.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I like that idea too, Robert, but you could also just, you could just leave a standard nameplate that never changes. Because really, like the only people who need to identify who the chair is us. The public is still going to refer to us as commissioner, or they just need our name. That's kind of my thoughts, but again, just my thoughts.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to have just like a placard that says chair and a placard that says vice chair, and it just moves around in whatever meetings we are in. And then on Zoom, you'll just identify it by changing your name. Just so that way, I know that some people like to be extra formal and be like chair so and so in like their public comment. Okay, well, Kelsey types that out. Do we have any comments on the other areas? Also, thank you, Kelsey. Use your full name to ensure clarity and professionalism. This typically includes your first and last name. If you use a middle name or initial, include that. And then pronouns, optional, including your pronouns can help create a respectful and inclusive environment. Place them after your name and within parentheses. Seems fair. Okay, moving on. Template guidelines for Zoom name.
The next one, the changing your, oh wait,
Mhm.
never mind. Ignore me.
Yeah, it looks like these might be replicas. Yes, no.
Yes.
Mhm.
So I guess, do we need, never mind. I think my brain just quit.
Yeah, I think you just made two of the same thing, which like,
I did. Is that okay? Do we want to change something?
let's just delete the second one since we haven't workshopped it and we did change a little bit in the first.
Well, I'm wondering, hmm. I think I would rather, hold on. This is what I'm gonna do. And then I think we should just change this, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so just gonna verbalize what Kelsey just did. She just copied the number one from that we had edited slightly from the first section and moved it down to template guideline for Zoom name. And then two and three, well, one and two on the first section and two and three on the second section are just the same and describing how the names and optional pronouns should be included. Cool. Changing your display name in Zoom.
This one is just instructions. I just copied and pasted from Zoom, so I don't know if you want to go over it. I thought it would be helpful.
I think it's
For
helpful. I don't think it needs to be reviewed unless anyone disagrees. Okay, here no disagreement. Moving down to hybrid meet-in Zoom guidelines. Staff will admit commissioners and any guest presenters to the meeting while the public is kept in the waiting room until the meeting begins. Before admitting the public, test the functionality and quality of the sound and video for virtual attendees. Position the camera to focus on the commissioners or shared materials. Use a secondary camera if necessary to show physical documents or whiteboards when available. Despite a commissioner or staff person, designate a commissioner or staff person to monitor Zoom to ensure participants are appropriately muted, unmuted, and to take a speaker's list. At the start of the meeting, introduce both in-person and virtual commissioners and staff. Provide a brief overview of the meeting agenda and expectations of all attendees. Invite the public to use their name as their Zoom name. Provide clear instructions for how participants should use Zoom features such as raising hands, muting, unmuting, and renaming themselves. And then Gretchen has a comment on staff. Would this mean we would stop having the public introduce themselves, just asking for clarification? I think this would be for a special meeting. We can still have the public introduce themselves at our regular meetings. Yeah, maybe we just add a note that says at the start of special meetings? Or like, let's clarify in some way. And do we want to call them special meetings now that we have the clarity that they are meetings that happens when there's a specific topic we are focusing on with a intent for higher public comment? I think special meeting still works, name wise because it's for a special topic. But we could also call them topic specific meetings if we wanted to. Kira?
Um, Gretchen, are we allowed to call them special meetings? Because technically special meetings mean something else, like in board world.
I don't have any precedent for it. I'm not sure. I was taking a look at the draft new bylaws that are coming for the city as well, and it doesn't address that. So it's a good question, Kara. And
Okay.
I'm not sure. What I've imagined is that it would almost be a subheading. Like it would certainly say Human Rights Commission. And then maybe we would say special meeting, you
Okay.
know.
Yeah,
And
that
so
that
I
would make sense.
yeah, that's how I've imagined it. But you do ask a good question.
Okay.
Any other opinions on special topic specific other words? Okay, we can come back to that. And just noting that Kelsey changed the title of this section to make it for special meetings or whatever name we come up with. Okay, commissioner website profiles. Your name, your title, professional summary, a brief overview of yourself and what you do. This section should summarize your professional identity, including your key skills, areas of expertise and interest, and why you applied for the HRC. Aim for 2 to 3 sentences. Background, provide more detail about your professional background and or relevant lived experience. This could include your educational qualifications, previous roles, or notable achievements. Highlight experiences relevant to your current role or that set you apart in your industry or help inform your interests in human rights. I'm unsure of these edits. My aim was to value lived experience in addition to formal experience. I definitely like the added and or relevant lived experience. And or help inform your interests. In the commission, maybe we say inform your interests in the commission's values and goals or like commission's goals. I just feel like interested in human rights sounds a little funny because like who wouldn't be interested in human rights? I know some people, but I don't know. I think that maybe we could just say like inform your interests in the commission's vision, goals. I don't know. Do we have a preference on words?
I'm fine with that. How about the interest in the HRC's mission?
I like that. Okay. List any significant key achievements. List any significant accomplishments or recognitions you have received. This might include awards, certifications, successful projects, or milestones that underscore your expertise. I think we should add this as optional.
Yeah, I also feel like we kind of answer most of the key achievements in the backgrounds piece of it. Doesn't mean we ask for this can include your educational qualifications, previous roles, or notable achievements.
Yeah. Maybe
I'm
we can just add like optional key achievements and then say like specifically like if you've been in the HRC and have achievements like from that. Like relevant work to the HRC, or maybe we just remove it and hope that people will do it in the background. What do we think?
I'm fine removing it. Unless someone wants it.
Okay, sounds like removing it is a go. Thank you. Current work. Describe what you are currently working on or your current role in more detail. This section should give readers insight into your current responsibilities, such as a task force. So I would just edit it to say, describe what you're currently working on for the HRC or like within the HRC. Because some people might get confused and be like, oh, my day job. That's what this is. And I think that we should also add like sentence, like say like aim for one sentence, like you did in the first one. I
This is
think
Gretchen. Another nice thing about that is it encourages people to engage or think about that question. It might reduce a more passive experience for some, which is nice.
Question. I'm trying to reword this. Do we like describe your work for the HRC or your current role? How about your work? Wait, and or your current role for the HRC.
yeah.
Yeah.
Does that seem reasonable to you guys? Do you read it and understand the intent?
The phrase your work might make me think I could either talk about my day job or my experience with HRC. Is that
Yeah.
what you're intending?
No, I didn't like. I think we want it specifically for the HRC. I just didn't want to
What if
repeat
we
HRC,
Oh, I see.
but we
Just-
can repeat it.
Describe your work. Oh, now I'm understanding it. So now I'm getting it with your edit, and I feel like I could explain that to somebody if they had a question now. Thank you.
So we'll change that one.
Hmm.
I guess I can't accept my own suggestion, so
We could do describe your work and your current role.
Maybe
Just
it
like
needs-
describe your current role or areas of interest.
Well, I guess it's a good point to be a bit unsure about the word role because maybe a commissioner doesn't have a title,
Yeah,
but yeah, like you said, I see what you're saying, but they're
Like-
interested in,
yeah, like some
The
people, like,
complaints or
let's
the
just say
violence
like they're
from
not,
it.
like particular, like they don't have, like a particular role, but like their area of interest is, housing and homeless services and how, like the HRC's mission is,
yeah.
fitting into addressing the indignity, injustice, and inhumanity of homelessness within our city. So like, like they might not necessarily have a role, but like they're taking, like kind of like an active, engagement in
Yeah.
that topic.
Would the word your work cover that?
I
I
think
think-
so, but if we want to be explicit,
What if we just put, what if we just put current HRC interests? Some we're describing, essentially our HRC interests, and then we're, the optional of personal interests. And then we would just retitle that from current work to
Oh, yeah,
commission interests.
I like that.
Okay.
Does
Now
that
we
work?
have-
Yeah, except my last suggestion would be instead of current work, so in bold, where we're basically titling the section current work, the bold all the way to the, the bolded
Yes.
section,
Mhm.
we would just put commission interests or HRC interests. Either one works, so we just would,
Yeah,
and then we would just remove the word work,
because then your mind won't trail to your day job.
yeah.
So do you want me to take out this?
No, I
What if
think
we
that's
instead
fine.
put, describe your current HRC interests? What if we just put instead of work, we just change that to contributions?
Oh. there you
I
go.
like that word.
Okay, and do we agree with the sentence amounts that I added in?
Yeah, because I don't want it to be like, here's my bio. So I think, yeah, 1 to 2. I would be comfortable with 2 to 3. 1 to 3.
Yeah, we can do 1 to 3.
1 to 23 sentences.
Okay, and then personal interests, share your interests or hobbies outside of the HRC, optional. And then provide a way for people to contact you. So this is, I think this brought up a question of us to Gretchen of, are we allowed to be contacted individually? Like what's the process for the public interacting with us on like us advertising for it?
Thank you for asking. You're welcome to, one of the things that we notice if we have email addresses up on our city website is the risk of spam. You would certainly be encouraged to maybe set up a separate email that focuses in on that. Like if something funny happened and you had a records request, for example, it would help focus to specifically that email address as opposed to a general email address. So there could be some things that a commissioner would want to think about if offering an email address. It may say contact the office to get, and then you'd know it's a live person and not a bot, and you could give me permission to give it out, for example. Or you may want to go ahead and list one, but it's okay to do. It just comes with some risks or questions. We
Yeah.
don't automatically do it for those reasons.
Mhm. I'd say my preference is to have it say contact the staff liaison, comma, Gretchen for the contact information if you would like to speak with this commissioner or something like that. And then like the commissioners who are willing to give out their public information, they can tell Gretchen that, and the ones who aren't can come up with a way to work with that public member while also like doing it through Gretchen.
Yep. I'm happy to do that to support you all. That makes sense.
Also, Robert, sorry, I think I cut you off.
Yeah, and you know, this might change now that we're, changing this contact from, actually, no, I think it's still kind of relevant in that we should encourage commissioners that if they're using email addresses that they will be like interfacing with the public with, that they're professional in nature. Like even in my current job, I've seen some people that hold professional type positions that have kind of had some email addresses that I've kind of been like, I don't know why you would put that out there for people to. So I would just say like a recommendation that people's email addresses that they use for corresponding as a representative of the HRC be professional in nature, such as, first dot last, like something regarding their name, like first dot last name, Salem HRC at Gmail or Yahoo, or I also feel like we shouldn't have to tell people what a professional email is, but again, you're also to be really surprised, so.
Yeah, I could just maybe we just okay. So multiple things going through my head right now. Sorry. So the first comment that I had is my preference would be for everyone's contact information to like be the same. So like if we decide to go through the staff person, I'd prefer if everyone's bio just said like to contact me, please contact Gretchen or like something like that. Versus like some people have their email, some people don't, some people have a LinkedIn profile, some people don't, just for consistency and also so it doesn't like pin commissioners against each other almost to be like more publicly involved. But open to other opinions on that.
No, I agree with that. I think, but even with that, somebody's gonna contact Gretchen to get, my email address. And then my email address that I use for the HRs, like that, is on file, maybe doesn't reflect the values and professionalism that it should reflect as being a commissioner. Like, I think this is kind of just like a, maybe not for this section, but there should be a recommendation or thing for how to set up your contacts. So you're engaging in a professional manner. Like for me, I just use my, my work email because it's professional and it relates. But, somebody's email on file as a commissioner, they probably shouldn't be anything fuzzy pink bunny slippers at Yahoo. And then that's who somebody's emailing as a commissioner on the Human Rights Commission. Like
Would it be worth it at the beginning of this whole document to be like, reminder that, like, as a Human Rights Commission, and it might be in one of our documents, we are representative of the Human Rights Commission mission.
Say that, like you're serving as a representative of the citizen.
Yeah, so not necessarily like
point, like
naming, have a professional email, because like I don't care if someone has pink bunny slippers at yahoo.com. I mean, how'd you get that email? I'm sure it was taken. But like, I mean, it'd be cool if everyone had like more professional emails.
My email address.
It is. I know it is.
We could just add a section that says like, as you are interacting with the public, please be ensured to follow proper decorum, and like asterisks. Communications should come from a profile that does not have inappropriate language included in it, or like something like that. Just like a reminder of like, hey guys, your emails are public.
Yes. Yeah, I think just like a general statement of like, reminder that you're representing the Human Rights Commission at all times, even outside of the Human Rights Commission meetings, and to act accordingly.
You're a soldier in and out of uniform.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we will add a procedure, just like a very like quick one at the, maybe like in the frame in. Yeah, we'll add a frame in section of this that says like, hey, remember who you are and what you are responsible for.
Yeah, I don't mind doing that.
The reason I bring that up is because this was a meeting.
Amazing. Thank you, Kelsey. I will take you up on that. And if you want assistance, tag me in. I'm happy to help too.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, I'm going to move on to headshot guidelines optional. I mean, this seems all pretty standard. It's just like use a high resolution, don't have a distracting background, wear appropriate clothes. Should we say like, instead of saying attire appropriate for the website and mission, should we just say like business casual clothing?
Doesn't the city of Salem have a guideline on appearance, like for staff?
I'd have to go and look anymore. I remember at one point it was a brief, be appropriate.
Yeah, like we changed ours to not be really like, again, I think it just boils down to make sure, like your attire is, appropriate, professional, and void.
I hesitate to use the word, and I used it like once or twice in this document, like professional or like business casual, just because that means different things for each person, and the idea of professionalism is very like white centered. Yeah. So the idea with saying like wear attire appropriate for the website and mission is like, don't wear a bikini. I mean, that's fine, wear a bikini, but maybe not for your headshot, or like something with like a political slogan on it.
That makes sense. I, for similar reasons, don't like using the word appropriate to describe clothing because it implies that there's inappropriate clothing, which is just so yes, I agree with the business casual / professional. Could we say like befitting the mission of the HRC and website?
We just put wear attire representative of the website and the mission of the HRC.
Representative. That seems fair.
I guess how my brain works is I took that as how do I represent a website?
Mm.
What? Oh.
Consistent with,
Oh.
Or wear attire that reflects the values of the city of Salem and the Human Rights Commission.
maybe?
Looks good to me. Any comments?
Oh, okay.
Should we have a note on expressions? And I only ask this for like people who have like face paralysis or like other things who like can't make a specific face.
I'm not married to any of these things. It was just a, what do websites say?
I figured. I didn't think that like you strongly believed in any
I
of
do
these.
actually.
Um,
I'm fine deleting it.
is anyone opposed to deleting it? Okay, I think
No.
go ahead and delete. Framing, your face should be in focus. Yeah, that makes total sense. Lighten, ensure good lighting and highlights your face without harsh shadows. Yeah, seems fair. Use a photo with the standard aspect ratio. I never know what those are, and I just take photos and hope for the best. But if people do know what they are, that's great. And
That's
JPEG and PNG make sense.
I got really, really into the weeds on that one.
No, I mean, I like kind of keeping, the aspect ratio because somebody would upload a profile picture that's extremely blurry or stretched out and very distorted and
Yeah.
I think it makes sense. I just personally have no idea what it means. I think it's grids, maybe. That's my guess. Okay, cool. That's all of Kelsey's
Oh
procedure.
my gosh.
Great job.
Wow, we did it.
And
We
we've
did
got
it.
10 minutes left. So like amazing for us for following that guideline. Okay, is there anything else? Okay. Do we want to spend 10 minutes going over the procedures that I drafted? Do we want to go over the questions? Or do we want to jump to remarks if anyone has any?
I don't know, we've got 10 minutes. It's your call, Lana.
Okay.
You're the boss.
I'm going to jump to remarks to see if we have any. If that is approved. Okay, cool. Any remarks or announcements? Great. I'm gonna say no. And then I'm gonna jump into the questions because we ended up on number 9 and we should probably finish those. And I can screen share just for brevity. Cool. Okay. Are we seeing the form? Great. Okay, so we left off on number 9. How do
Hey,
we
thank you,
sorry?
Gretchen.
Okay. How do we best conduct outreach outside of meetings to help bring people in? I think that is a question for the engagement committee. But is this like we should write a procedure on how we engage with the public?
This is Gretchen. Yeah, I actually remember that coming from a committee member of, is there any sort of protocol around that? Because there certainly ended up being, like during our recent special meetings, there ended up being people who would talk with people. And so is there anything around that to keep in mind, I think would be the idea.
Okay, so just a procedure on communicating with the public.
Yeah, like a basic one would certainly be I could write something about, we don't want any serial meetings, like you don't wanna, I wouldn't wanna see a commission member meet with a member of the public and then turn around and update every other commissioner about that conversation, because then the public can't access all of that information, for example. But it would of course be fine for a commission member to meet with a member of the public and then come and talk about it at the next meeting, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's just when the public does not get engaged because it
Yeah.
happens one at a time. Yeah, that makes sense. Do
think
we already
also-
have that on our procedures list?
I don't know that we do.
I heard you volunteer to start that if you want to. I don't want to put that on you, Gretchen. But if
I can
there's,
start it.
okay, feel
I-
free to tag me in anytime. Yeah,
Thank
Robert.
you.
Yeah, I think we should also, you know, have like a disclaimer, maybe that commissioners provide to members of the public, like what information can we, you know, like ensure will remain, you know, private, either through, you know, like, you know, Freedom of Information Act, you know, like disclose, like records requests, or, you know, like being shared in the meeting. Like it also just helps protect the commissioner, so that person, you know, like the commissioner doesn't come back to a meeting, relay
Yeah.
what they talked about with somebody in a conversation during that month. And then that person files, you know, essentially maybe like a complaint or something with Gretchen because, you know, the public had assumed, you know, one thing about, you know, those communications. So I think
Mhm.
just some kind of ground rules, like, hey, you know, like, I'm happy that we're discussing right now, just to let you know and everything, that, you know, this information might be reported back to, you know, the larger commission. You know, if there's certain things you would not like me to, you know, disclose, please let me know. Kind of just some
Yeah.
standard stuff, other than like, or people should just assume that the entire conversation's on record if they don't dictate ahead of time that they don't want to disclose them. I don't know
That
the
makes
best way
sense.
to
We could make
put
like
that.
a 2-sentence disclosure that
Yeah,
commissioners give.
yeah, you know, maybe it's just like a card or something like we have, and then you can just like hand it to them, or like, hey, if you have any questions after, we discuss, if you'd like to follow up, please contact the staff liaison. Because some people might say something during a conversation, like in the moment, right? You know, like I might schedule a conversation with Alana, I might be heated about a conversation, I might say some things, and then maybe like 2 days later, I'm like, you know what, maybe I would rather that not be shared, you know, like I just wanted to vent. But now I kind of just want that to kind of just be a moot point. Somebody has a way of contacting again or something to just be like, hey, can we just, because I also look at, you know, people's, you know, if we like look at, you know, the discrimination reports, you know, some people might, you know, like report anything, you know, like want it to be there, but then maybe later might not want it shared
Yeah.
publicly and like discussed at a meeting. So then just providing avenues for people to be able to withdraw consent.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Makes sense. Okay. Number 10, what do we want the experience of a commission meeting to feel like? I feel like we've addressed this in most of our topics, that we want it to generally be a welcoming and like positive environment for people to come and talk to us. But in special meetings, we need a certain structure to ensure that the space remains equitable and safe for all involved. Does that seem like a good summary of how we want things?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say, so it's all right. I mean, we're trying to strike the balance between friendly openness while still maintaining professionalism in the meetings. I think just striking that perfect balance.
Yeah. And then similar vein, how can meetings be inclusive, recognizing a variety of cultural norms? My first thought after reading this is a lot of the cultural norms that we don't already know about as commissioners, we aren't going to know about until someone points it out to us. So maybe we can end or start meetings with either end or start with. And if there's something we can do to make this meeting more accessible for you, or if we did anything and you'd like to provide feedback, let us know. And we could maybe have like a little feedback survey that just says like, it's just a one question. What would you like the HRC to know?
You know, I honestly love that idea, and I think maybe trying to find a way to just kind of have a standard, survey for all meetings, I think would be, maybe we kick this down to community engagement, but we kind of talked about it with the most recent, event that we did, like the town hall, and I think kind of having a satisfaction, like a customer satisfaction survey for, our meetings and our events, that also helps us determine, provides us some qualitative and quantitative feedback that we can also put into the data dashboard.
Mhm.
Ilana, was that something that you drafted up, like a start of the meeting, like a welcome thing? I want to say, okay, that I was like, I think I read that.
Yeah, so I'll add a little sentence about this survey that we're going to create. And Gretchen, do you want me to just, once again, not until we get approval from the entire commission, but do you want me to go ahead and just create that survey, or do you want the city of Salem to like own it?
Oh, I'd welcome if you did. I think as long as we can. Oh, wait a
It would
second.
be the same as that other survey that
Yeah,
Kelsey and I drafted, but that does mean that all get their responses instead of
right.
a city email.
And that might be better if it comes to the city email, huh? Just in the event of an emergency or a transition.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess what I jumped on or enthusiastically was what wording or questions you would like. But if you offered me that, then I can work that into a city survey format.
Yeah, I do think it should just be like a single question of just like, what would you like us to know? But I'm happy to send you that in more like detail because I do think it should have like a frame and paragraph.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. How can we clearly define the difference between an invited guest and a member of the public? I think that this question kind of became mute once we realized that special meetings were not what we were thinking they were and that they're just specific topic meetings. But still open to ideas if we have them. Like, so for our general meetings, do we feel that there is a need to differentiate between the people who like we would consider invited guests and a member of the public? Okay. Cool. And then we just have, okay, I'm just gonna power through these last ones. Shall we develop a mechanism for making a recommendation for what we want requests in write-in? Oh, okay, so this was about like when we get requests from the city council and yes, we should create a mechanism for that. We talked about just giving Gretchen like a template of questions, which she already asked, but at least that would give like framing. And I think it's something we have to work on as a larger group still. So we should come back to that. I'm seeing nods. Okay. Shall we have guidance on when to begin the action work when developing a recommendation? For example, would the HRC want to have a procedure that centers a listening period before moving to partial or full recommendations? Yes.
Yeah, I think yes, I think that kind of got us in a little bit of trouble with those 3 meetings on the statement about Gaza. Because some folks felt like that was we had already decided what we were going to move forward with at the first meeting. So I think listening session, then recommendations are like whatever.
Okay, so we don't have that on the procedures list of things to draft already. Can we add creating a procedure for listening sessions for formal requests
Yeah,
or something like that? I guess it would be a part of like our formal requests more broadly procedure.
yeah.
Okay, we got through all the questions.
Yay.
And it's now 6:16, so I'm not going to hold you any longer unless there's any last things.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to just kind of double back to, like the public comment period / asking questions. We have a time limit on when written comments have to be submitted right? Is there like a time frame that like written public comment has to be submitted ahead of time? I guess let me kind of tee up this scenario. We, we have a listening session. We invite members of the public and everything to come in, right? Somebody shows up in person, but then they get nervous or they, get stage fright and everything. They don't want to ask their question verbally, but they want to write it down and have it asked by somebody else. How could we go about that? Like, is there a mechanism that we can put in place for these listening sessions that they show up, right? But they don't want to verbalize their question. So now their public comment technically is now written, but they just want to pass it off to say, staff to read out loud. Because now technically it's not a verbal public comment because they're not verbalizing it. It's written, but then they didn't meet the deadline of submitting it ahead of time.
I mean, I think that that is a valid situation that probably would happen, but I don't think it's something that we should like formalize because it like adding in a process of like people can just basically write notes to commissioners to read aloud or to Gretchen or to whoever could just get so complicated and messy and it could just extend the
Yeah, I
public
guess
comment
it's,
a lot longer than it should be. So
yeah, I
I
guess
think
it's
like,
something we
if
could,
someone were to come in and say like, hey, like if they pulled us aside and they were like, hey, I really want to say this thing, but I'm afraid to, like that's fine, but it should just be like an individual thing. It shouldn't be something like in policy, because then it encourages that to happen. And also I would recommend that they can submit written public comment after the meeting that can be shared with commissioners.
okay. Yeah, I like that. I think, that's something we could leave kind of like as like an accommodation that somebody could seek that maybe we don't advertise and, something that's, taken at discretion of the chair. I just, think of those and everything. I want to make sure that, like how can we make sure that we can still address people's comments even if they didn't necessarily meet a 5 p.m. deadline.
Yeah,
And
I think that's
Or
fair.
just showed up.
I think that post session public comments are always welcome.
they
Yeah.
can send in a written comment really at any time. It's just when that gets to the commissioners.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have any deadline and I aim to look into my email just before the meeting in case there's anything, but
Sure.
if not, I'll see it later and send it to you. So that's absolutely accurate.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and conclude this meeting of the